The Orville New Horizons, Season 3, Episode 4, Gently Falling Rain. Well, it looked like at the beginning of this episode that we were actually going to get a treaty between the Federation...
Union.
Alright, whatever.
The Union. This is completely different than the Federation.
Oh my god. The Planetary Union and the Krill. So the delegation goes to Krill, and Krill's in the middle of an election. Of course, why you would do this shit in the middle of an election, I don't know. But the current Chancellor doesn't win the election. Instead, that Krill that Ed had the affair with, she wins the election.
Teleya?
Yeah, Teleya. And she is quite the piece of work. She doesn't want to have peace with the Planetary Union. She doesn't want this treaty at all.
She's a bit of a religious one.
She's a religious zealot.
She's a religious zealot. She thinks that expanding out and forming this alliance with the Union is going to take away from what it is being Krill. She's more of an orthodox type Krill, where who they were negotiating with, they were actually more progressive in their wanting to work with the Union and seeing how Krill could be part of this larger thing.
Yeah. She goes on a killing spree. She kills the former Chancellor, and she was about to kill the whole delegation from the Planetary Union. In fact, she even stabbed the president of the Planetary Union, played by Bruce Boxleitner.
Yeah, when we heard his voice, because he has a very unique voice, and it's like, is that Bruce Boxleitner? It's like, yup.
Yay! I was hoping he'd be on this show, and I was really hoping he wouldn't die, and he didn't die, so yay. So maybe we'll actually see him again. That would be fantastic. As it turns out, she was going to let Ed go in repayment for when he let her go. Except Ed was accosted by some other Krill who don't believe in what Teleya's doing, and they took him to see a child. As it turns out, he and Teleya have a daughter. Teleya has been hiding this daughter away so that the rest of Krill doesn't find out that she has a daughter that is half human.
And how old did that kid look? Because that's the problem I'm having with this show with kids. Like Topa, he grew up very quickly. However, in the comic, they explained how Mocklins, they
grow faster.
Yeah, they go from the child state to like a teenager state pretty quickly. But this Krill was too old for what they were trying to portray. I was having trouble buying this was Ed's daughter because she was too old. What was she, like 7 or 8? I mean, the actress.
I would have pegged her at a minimum of 5. Minimum.
It just seemed like she was too old.
Yeah.
Like the toddler at best is what you should be seeing. So I was having trouble buying that anyway. One of the other issues was with this. The actress who played the daughter was fine. Seth MacFarlane was trying to talk to this girl. Seth MacFarlane, he can play certain roles very well. The quipping, want to root for a loser type captain. He plays that very well. But trying to show any sort of range dealing with this kid, like that's to me where this episode started falling apart. Because I think they were asking Seth to go beyond the acting range that he has. And it wasn't working for me when he was talking to this little girl.
Yeah, I think for me, the writing was the worst part of this episode. Because I'll tell you right now, Ed confronts Teleya about the daughter and asks her straight out, if you were going to just hide her away, why did you even have her? And Teleya shows him that abortion apparently is illegal on Krill, which I thought was
it felt weird.
Poor representation. And I mean, I really don't want to get into that on this channel because
it's topical now in real life.
Oh, God. Yeah. I'll just say this. The argument that they put forth, what they showed in the episode, what they showed was crap. That was shit writing. I'm just going to say it. That was really, really poor writing. There was absolutely no depth, no nuance, no nothing. It was a terrible, like, what the hell was that?
That could have been an episode by itself dealing with the topic. But in this episode here, it was a side thing. You could cut that completely out of the episode, and I would argue the episode doesn't change at all. That was shoehorned in there. It meant, personally, I was cringing when that was going on because it didn't belong in there. This episode was already too long. I mean, we'll talk about that later. This was too long. There was so much wasted filler in this episode.
And also, the other part that I had a problem with the writing was that Ed I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, if I found out that I had a child, and obviously being female, that'd be kind of hard to pull that one off. Sneaking by me that I had a kid that I didn't know about. But if I did find out that I had a child out there, there would be nothing in heaven or earth that could stop me from getting to protect my child. I mean, I would do everything. There would be nothing. No one would be able to hide anywhere. And Ed was just like, I may never see my daughter again. He was like, what the hell is that shit?
Again, I'm not trying to promote this melodrama, but I was expecting, as this was going on, in the back of my head, oh, wait till Kelly finds out.
Yeah.
And when Kelly did find out, she was like, eh.
Yeah, she was just being all supportive of Ed, and I'm like, really? There's no conflicting feelings there at all? Aside from her regretting that they didn't get to that point in their relationship so that they could have a child together? I mean, this is writing duo, Brandon Braga and the other guy. Please stop.
Because they wrote that spider episode.
Which, again, I thought... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. That one, again, the way they wrote Claire, her reaction to her ex-husband showing up, that was wrong. I don't know, maybe these guys just can't write women properly, but that was piss-poor writing. Because, as I said in our review of that episode, I've got exes who could show up 20 years later apologizing for the bullshit that they put me through. And you know what? I would at least have the decency to hear them out. I mean, there'd be no way in hell we'd ever get back together, but at least I would be able to give them that. Because I understand humans are frail. I understand people have problems. And you know what? What would it take from you to just hear them out and forgive them? To be a kind person and at least give them that opportunity, especially if they actually are truly remorseful. And they didn't manage to write that into Claire's character at all in that particular episode, which I thought was odd, because Claire, of all people, I would have thought would be kinder than that. So that comes back around to, I'm not happy with Brandon Braga's writing this season. I'm just not.
I mean, I'll wait for the synopsis to finish, but I have a few positives, but a lot of negatives to say about this episode, but I'll save it till after the synopsis.
Yeah, so anyways, the Planetary Union is back at war with Krill. And obviously the Kaylon are still a problem. So, and Ed's not sure he's ever going to see his daughter again. And that's where it's basically left.
I'm going to start with the positives, because honestly there's very few of those, and then I'm going to go into the negatives. They used a lot of green screen, and you saw Krill. And Krill kind of had a Blade Runner-y type look to it. And I thought the green screens were used pretty well. So I thought the imagery they had for the city looked good. I thought a lot of the visuals that they had in the episode looked really nice.
Yes.
However, here's where the negatives kick in. There was a part where when Teleya took control of the government, they were hunting down the Orville's landing party, and they captured them. And then they were going to try to capture the Orville, and Kelly was in command of the ship, and she got the ship away. And she waited, she contacted the Union, and she waited for an armada to show up. Then they went back, and they were going to try to distract the Krill while they sent down a landing party to rescue the crew. And the battle that they had over the planet, I gave so much credit to the Orville in the second season when they had that Kaylon war battle around Earth, because it wasn't just random shooting. They were very clear. They would zoom in on certain people doing certain military things, and the battle had a narrative to it you could follow. Because that contrasted back with that ending in Discovery of season 2, when they were fighting Control, and there were like a million shuttlecrafts coming out of the Enterprise, and, and it was just random shooting, and it was just all CGI garbage. And I gave the Orville credit. Man, they know how to do a battle, and they gave narrative to the battle. This battle over Krill was, to me, just like Discovery. It was random. There was no sense of anything going on. There was just shooting and explosions. And no, I don't think they were trying to express the randomness of war like a Saving Private Ryan landing situation. This was just poorly done. This was Star Trek Discovery done. So that didn't work for me. The second thing that didn't work for me was when Kelly escaped with the Orville and she waited for that armada. There was an admiral on one of the ships in the armada. Yet when they went to Krill, Commander Kelly was issuing orders. But there was an admiral on one of those battle cruisers for the Union. The admiral should have been giving orders on what to do, not Kelly. I realize in narrative they wanted to have Kelly be a bigger part here, but to me that made no sense. She was not the ranking officer on that armada. they had an admiral on a much larger battleship. So to me, that made no sense to me at all. This episode, as I said, it was too long. It was way too long for the narrative they were telling. Because even when the rescue party showed up, it was Lamar and Claire, and they were wearing like Krill makeup or something. It was just kind of like random. They didn't build up anything. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, wasn't that Execute Order 21 or whatever that the Lamar...
Yeah.
Like it just felt all shoved together. This episode, this is the first episode this season that I did not care for. And they were in like the holodeck. They were doing were they visiting pubs throughout history? And
it was, a historic pub crawl. That I actually was enjoying. I enjoyed the beginning of this episode. The Krill watching Annie and the sun will come out tomorrow. To them, that's a horrible threat.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was hilarious. Just the culture shock by the Krill watching Annie, which we see as this uplifting, hopeful thing. And then, of course, the historic pub crawl. You had Isaac walk in with a cowboy hat and a mustache on. I mean, it was fantastic.
It felt like old Orville.
Yes.
And then right after that beginning part, they stopped with all humor.
Yeah, that was the end of that.
And I have not been one to say, oh, we need to have tons of humor. I was accepting this reboot for the serious reboot that apparently it is.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode, to me, did not work. Teleya was the only good part of this episode, in my opinion.
She's an excellent actress. I'll hand that to her.
They portrayed her as this fanatical leader who actually was torn between her beliefs and what she...
And her child.
Yes. So that was the only positive is Teleya. And some of the blue screen, green screen effect.
Yeah, because with Teleya, even with all of that makeup on, unlike with Star Trek Discovery, when you had those Klingons that could barely speak with all of their makeup, the woman who plays Teleya, even with all that Krill makeup on, she can still act. She knows how to use body language, vocal range, she is good versus that crap that we had on Star Trek Discovery. So yes, her behavior, her portrayal on this episode was the highlight of the episode.
Yep, it was the highlight.
Aside from the humorous stuff at the beginning.
Which there wasn't much to it after that. So, to me, this was a warning sign to me that this could go terribly wrong with what they're trying to do. I was on board with the first episode, the Isaac suicide episode. The alien episode I didn't care for as much. But last week's episode about the ascended culture, I was back on board. This episode, this to me was worse than the spider episode.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to use the W word, but I think they're going to make me use the W word. I'm going to have to use the W word because there is no other word for what they were doing. I mean, maybe call it the message, because they had so many the message crammed into this episode, starting with Teleya and her populism, portraying that as a bad thing. If they had taken this one idea and actually written an episode around it, this would have been completely different. There was just one line that they used to try to justify how Krill was going down this hate-filled populist route. And, then they bring in the whole abortion thing. And I'm like, how many more the message pieces are you going to bring into this, and do it in a sloppy manner, by the way, that doesn't actually teach anybody anything? This was not really giving anybody anything to think about. This was just preaching at you, practically. I mean, I don't like saying this, but I'm so angry and upset about what I watched yesterday.
When they started pushing that populist bad route, at first I thought they were doing a Trump allegory, and I was getting ready to cringe hard. It didn't quite go into Trump allegory, but I agree with you. What they were trying to say is populism is always bad. It can lead to this sort of crap. And I don't know what the messaging was there, because I personally don't think that populism is bad.
I do not either.
It depends what populism is trying to sell you. If populism is saying, other, these people are bad, let's scapegoat these people, let's blame all of our problems on these people and we can bring back our world again. That's populism based on hatred, and that is bad. But if you have populism based on, let's try to remember what made us a great world. Let's fix what has eroded. Let's try to endorse the things that make us us because we've lost our way. Populism doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a fascist way. It doesn't have to be some sort of religious dictatorial situation. It doesn't have to be that. but the Orville portrayed it as that's the only logical conclusion to this.
You can't just keep telling people that their desire for a better life is wrong. And when they actually try to make strides toward having that better life, that they're still wrong.
Previous Chancellor was killed. Teleya stabbed. Then they cut off his head, and they put his...
Down in the town square.
Yeah, they put his head in the town square.
Yeah, because when Ed was down going through the city to go see his daughter, and we saw this Blade Runner-esque city, we saw things like people begging for money. We saw what clearly looked like a prostitute to me. So it was clear that what the Chancellor, the old Chancellor, had said at the beginning of the episode, that even though they're based on this merchant economy, that when he said that everything was perfect, it was a lie. So it was clear that he was insensitive to the needs of the common Krill. And Teleya was tapping into that with the hateful rhetoric that she was espousing. So, I mean, that was the one thing they actually got right, understanding that that was the cause. But beyond that, they did a piss poor job of talking about anything else.
Yeah, to me, this week, I enjoyed Strange New Worlds more than the Orville.
This is a dark week.
That's the first time ever, and I'm not praising, our review of Strange New Worlds was lukewarm at best. I praised it because they weren't playing the characters, they were in some fantasy world. That's why I praised it, as it was tolerable. The fact that tolerable is better than an Orville episode for me tells me how disappointed I was with this episode. And I'm worried about this franchise in the future.
Me
because
too.
Last week when they had more humor in the episode, they had Randall wanting money from Gordon, and that was played along for a while. That, to me, was a sign like, oh, maybe they're starting to inject this stuff back in again. But I'm worried now. I mean, I really am worried about the Orville. I saw an interview where Seth was saying that this season, they're looking at these episodes not so much as episodes, but as independent movies. This film here didn't work for me. Like, very little. It was nice seeing Bruce Boxleitner again, because last time I remembered him was from Babylon 5. And so it was nice. It's kind of funny because at the end of that, well, before his character died, he was this head of this planetary union. So the fact, or president of this planetary union. So the fact that he also is a president of this planetary union here, I was laughing because I think that was a slight nod to Babylon 5 where they left him.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, I do think. So I enjoyed him. I enjoyed Teleya. I enjoyed some of the blue screen. Honestly, that's about it.
Yeah,
I mean, This episode was over an hour long, and it felt like it was over an hour long.
So disappointed at this point.
So I mean, on a scale of 10, I mean, I'm going to give this, if 10 is perfect, I'm going to give it like a 4, maybe a 5.
I would give it a 5.
I don't want to go back and watch this again. I probably will, but I don't want to go back. That's the first time I've ever not wanted to watch an Orville episode again.
Yeah. Here, I'm just going to take a second here to think if there's anything else I want to say about this. Just disappointed. I guess I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
I hope next week isn't like this.
I did not enjoy watching this episode. When it was all said and done, I was not happy.
No, me either. Well, anyway, we would love to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, did you guys pick up on the same stuff that we did? Did you see it differently? Tell us your thoughts, because I need something to help me feel either some camaraderie here or to feel better that maybe I misunderstood something and this isn't actually as horrible as I thought. So, like, subscribe, comment, share this all over the place if you want to.
We'll catch you in the next video. Take care.